My name is Stephen Zipperer,
Birthplace,
Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
your age,
I am 52 years old.
your gender, and your pronouns.
I am male. I go by he. Most of the time. With my gay friends, it could be anything.
Your marital status,
I've been with I'm single technically, legally, but I've been with my partner for 33 years.
and your housing status.
We live in a condo that we own over in Tempe.
And any children?
We have one dog right now, Chelsea, who's 15 years old.
Diagnosis date?
It is December, towards the end of December of 2001.
And how do you believe you contracted the disease?
I'm really not sure because there was a lot going on at the time. So I may have got it from sex, but I was also using drugs intravenously at the time. So it may have been from that.
And who was the first person you told?
My partner, Mark, because we found out together. We got tested together.
And what is your sobriety date?
It is January 10th of 2020.
And your drug of choice?
Methamphetamine.
And how did you discover Shanti?
I've known about Shanti for a long time. Probably learned about them like in 2005 when I first got sober because I knew a lot of people that were in the program or in housing, and so they were going through that, and a lot of them stayed sober, or sometimes some of them may have had to try more than once. But I knew a lot of people that had gone through, and so when I relapsed, I actually was going to come in 2017, but I couldn't make my appointments and stuff back then, so I went somewhere else and did inpatient treatment at the time, and eventually earlier last year, I was seeing my therapist, and he recommended that I go back, that I try doing this program, and so that's when I came in last March, I believe, March 2019.
The next question is, have you been to other IOPs? And if so, how have they differed from Shanti's format of care? Do you prefer their methods over Shanti's or vice versa?
I actually have lost count of how many IOPs I've been in, but some of them I did more than twice, or more than once, and or more than twice. And usually, I would have to say that most of the places were a lot stricter about behavior. That, like, you had to be there for one, which was also expected at Shanti. And even like sitting in group, there was more restrictions on like what you could do in the group, just to try and control how people were treating each other and interacting with each other. So when I got to Shanti, it was hard for me. Like I wanted the facilitator to take control, and I didn't understand why they weren't. And so that took me a minute to adjust to that. And since I was relapsing when I first got in, like I really kind of wanted them to kick me out, and they didn't. So I thought, what the hell is wrong with these people? So it took me a while to come around to seeing that they were just trying to be there and be supportive in whatever way they could, and there wasn't much point in beating people up that were already suffering. So I've learned to appreciate that, and not that these other IOPs, I mean, they were doing the best they can, but like I think as time goes on, more of these other programs have probably changed too to be more trauma informed in their treatment plans.
And so, how much time have you spent with Shanti overall?
Probably like 9 months, I think.
Okay, total time.
Yeah.
And can you describe what being in group therapy has done for you, your HIV, and your recovery?
Well, for my HIV, like I really kind of forgot all about my HIV. It's like I even when I was using, I have maintained my health pretty much, and like I kept my doctor appointments and kept taking my meds and stuff. So like I felt like I had managed it, but what I didn't realize, like how important it was to be around people going through it, and 'cause it was just something I didn't talk about anymore. I I had my addiction to take up my focus. And so it's been good to just be more open about it and talk more freely and realize that there's a lot I can do to support the community, especially the younger community, and explain, what we went through to get where we're at or where I was at. And so that was great. And as far as my recovery, it's given me hope again. Like I really had given up. Like when I first came into Shanti, I really didn't plan on finishing it. That was never my goal. Like I'll do this for a while, and because I had been trying for so long now and just like had given up hope. So it gave me hope, and also I learned to just appreciate um, and listen to other people and their experience. And the more I listened to other people and realized what they were going through and accepting that they were doing the best I can, the more I was able to forgive myself. So it's really supported my recovery in that respect, because it's allowed me to be there and to help other people, which I like to do if I can. Probably too much, and by doing that, though, it got me out of my own head, and like I realized that I actually had it pretty good, and was really blessed to be in the situation I'm at. And I'm very glad that I got into Shanti like when I did. It was perfect timing.
And what were some of the challenges you experienced in the group therapy setting?
Well, for the first couple months, I kept relapsing, and which really, like, I felt so much shame, and I really didn't want to come back, but I knew it was my last chance, or at least I felt like it was. And so I would come back to group, and then people would, you know, they would try to be supportive, but like whatever they told me, I didn't really care. I didn't want to hear it, and I did stuff to try and push people away, and told the facilitators that I didn't want to be there, and but obviously I did because I kept coming, and I'm glad I was able to be honest. But it was definitely a challenge, especially when other people like seemed like they weren't taking it seriously, and I'm like, "Don't you get it?" Like it, there was it was hard for me to accept that they were doing the best, and that just showed me that like I wasn't believing that I was doing my best, and I was really judging myself. So there was a lot of pain going through that, and then just sitting through that, and letting people see me like cry and feel the pain like in group, like sitting there in front of people, like that was very hard for me. And just like a lot of this stuff, like I've shared my story before, but like just opening up again, I'm like, really, what's the point? Like I'm just going to disappoint people and disappoint myself. Like, why are we going through this? So that was a real struggle for me to keep going back. But I had nothing else to do, so I just kept doing it. So I'm glad I did.
And so, what is the most important tool that you have learned from Shanti and group therapy specifically? Or what is, a handful?
Just, I don't know, there's so much, like in bits and pieces that have come at different times. I think overall, just being more compassionate with myself, and a lot of this came with from group. This was going on, and I also was like going to my outside meetings for Recovery Dharma and practicing their program, which is a lot of mindfulness and self investigation as well. But the group therapy allowed me to just have a place to just talk about what was going on and be real. And because sometimes I didn't always have a chance to do that, like outside a group. Whereas like in groups at Shanti, it's like I know like the people there are HIV positive, struggling with different addictions, and it's like I know they understand where I've been, where I'm coming from. So it was easier to just open up, and like I didn't feel judged there. So that was helpful. And tools taken out of there are just like working with Anne, my therapist, just some of the work that I've done have started the parts work where I just kind of have learned to stay present and mindful and make sure that the pieces are coming together again instead of fighting with each other and tearing me apart. So that's been good, and also to recognize that there's, I don't have to deal with everything all at once. Like if it's too much right now, set that aside, put it on the shelf, put it in the container, lock it up. I can come back to it later. So that's helpful. And then all the DBT skills, which half of them, some of them come back and like I'll remember parts of them at different times, but definitely just being aware that sometimes my first thought about something, I'm like, I kind of challenge it. And it's helpful when I hear other people expressing some whatever cognitive distortion or whatever, and I'm like, oh no, that's what's going on. And if I can call somebody else out on it, then that means that I'm aware of like what's going on with me too, and I can hopefully catch myself sometimes before I go off the deep end. So.
And what were your initial thoughts when you learned that Shanty was closing its doors?
I think at the time I first learned about it, I think I had just relapsed. So I'm like, good, close them down was my honest first reaction. I'm like, thank God, I'm sick of coming here anyway. But it didn't last long because I saw how much it was like, I remembered my other folks that were in group and in housing and stuff. And it really caused them a lot of anxiety and distress at first, and understandably so. And so when I saw that they were suffering, it made me sad. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Like this is it. We have a lot invested in this. And then like the longer, like since I kept coming, I'm like, oh wow, now I'm like vested in this, and like I'm gonna stay here till the end. I'm like, shit, now I'm like sad it's closing. And so it's been a journey, just like kind of being in denial at first, like, oh, who cares? And then being really sad some days, and then kind of getting to a place of just accepting it and being grateful that I've had the experience.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is how have your thoughts changed from when they first said they were closing their doors? I guess you kind of answered that. Is there one thing in particular that you'll miss the most about Shanty?
Really just the interactions, like every day, like having some place to go, and just, I've gotten used to just the characters, all of us coming together every day, and looking forward to different dramas and what people are going through, and seeing how they're handling it, and being able to share what I'm going through. So I'm going to try and carry that forward once we're allowed to go out of our houses again. And, I'm very hopeful that, it's taught me how important it is to stay connected and, just think of other people, but also to take care of myself.
So what do you think should come out of the closing of such a great organization, either like a thought or plan or idea?
Well, my hope is that, like all of us that have went through the program and have worked at Shanty, I hope that we can carry that spirit forward into the community, and either start new organizations or bring that spirit to other organizations, and make sure that we have a voice out there in the community still.
So how would you describe that voice of Shanty that you're talking about? Or that spirit, the spirit of Shanty.
I think just this a loving presence to be there, when people need it the most.
And is there anything else you would care to share with the audience listening, or perhaps words for the newly diagnosed or people barely entering into recovery?
I know for me, like when I was in that situation with both the diagnosis and like recovery, I've been new in recovery multiple times, so I know that feeling well. it just feels very lonely, and I would encourage anyone who feels like that they're all alone to really reach out and just open up. Like there's no point in keeping these secrets anymore because they're just keeping you sick. And there are people that really want to help, and they have, you know, you can trust people, um, and you're definitely worth it. You're worth it to try and get better. So invest in yourself and advocate for yourself.
And so when you first came to Shanti, what did you think of the room? Just a group therapy room when you came in and saw the chairs in a circle and the posters on the wall. What were some of the initial thoughts that were running through your head? And just if you could describe what the room felt like to you when you first entered it. And how has it changed for you?
I, going into the room, I kind of just thought, oh, it's one of these again, because I've done, I've done other, IOPs. I'm like, oh, it's just another room. So I really didn't pay that much attention, and really throughout the time, like they could have changed everything on the walls, and I probably wouldn't have noticed because I know like what's important is the people in the room, and I'm not like bragging, but that's just what I pay attention to because that's where the excitement is. Getting to know the other people, and like that's what I would notice, like, and during my time there, like there's been so many people that were in the group, or they started, they left, and only a handful of us finished.
So how long have you worked at the Voc Rehab?
Hard to say because I had a couple of starts and stops in the beginning with my relapse when I was on suspension. So I worked like maybe a month, not even a month probably at first, but then I took a break for another month. So I would say maybe like 6 months, 5 or 6, probably 5 months.
And in that 5 months, was there a particular task that you had come to like or you enjoyed most of all?
I liked sorting clothes, which most other people did not like. I liked it because I could just go back there and ignore everybody else, which was my goal in the beginning. So, plus, I really liked like finding the little jewels in the pile.
And so, what is the most challenging thing about working there at the Shanty Second Chances store?
Dealing with the other clients. And I'm not talking about the customers, I'm talking about the people that volunteer and work there, their personalities. At least that was the case for a lot of the time. I've come again to really appreciate like each person's perspective and what they bring or what they brought to the organization. So it was a lot of fun. Like once I got to the point of just accepting, like, oh, this is the way it is, and learning how to communicate and interact with people.
So do you feel that the Voc Rehab in conjunction with counseling services has been effective in helping you maintain your sobriety? Like the model that Shanti has of going to group and then working in a Voc Rehab, do you think that made you more effective in your sobriety?
Yeah, it definitely did because for one thing, it just like the program it's just longer than any other I've been in. So it gave me time, even with my slips and stuff, like it allowed me the time to like keep going until I stabilized a little bit more. And because so many other programs, it's like you're kind of rushed because the insurance or whatever is, they're like, oh, we're only going to pay for this long, whether it's inpatient or even IOPs. It's like just when I feel like I'm kind of stabilized, it'd be over and I'd be back at work. And this being in Voc Rehab allowed me the time, instead of like trying to get into even a part-time job, I think would have been too much as I was just getting sober, because the anxiety and stuff like that. Like I've failed so many times that I was about ready to give up, and this has given me a chance to say, oh, you know what? I failed that many times, but look how many times I got back up and I'm walking again. So.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time today. And I wanted to just give you this last moment. If you would like, is there anything else that you would like to share with anybody about your feelings about Shanti, your experience, any words of wisdom, or anything that you think would be important for people to hear?
I don't know if I have any words of wisdom, but other than the wisest thing I could say is it was important for me to learn that I didn't know everything like I thought I did when I came there, and I'm like, this isn't going to work. Like I was determined it wasn't going to work, and I thought, well, I've been through this enough times. It's like, well, this is going to teach me nothing new, and so this is a lesson for me and maybe others to just be open minded, and other people may have another perspective that just might help. So keep an open mind, be open, and be willing to do the work that needs to be done to get what you deserve.
So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.